A planetary adventure in space. Luke loved looking at the sky and getting lost among the stars. Every night he would watch the stars from his window and dream about space. One day, his mother said to him, "Make a wish and look at the stars. Maybe your wish will come true." Luke saw a particularly bright star that night. He immediately made his wish. "I want to ride on a star and go into space," he mumbled. But Luke knew that just making a wish was not enough. Going into space would only happen in fairy tales and movies, wouldn't it? The next night, Luke was again watching the stars from his window when something caught his attention. A bright light appeared in the sky, slowly approaching the Earth's surface. Luke realized that this light was not a shooting star because it was much bigger. As the bright light slowly got closer, Luke's eyes were mesmerized. The source of the light was a tiny spaceship. The spaceship landed silently in Luke's garden. Its door opened, and a strange sound came from inside. Luke approached the spaceship with curiosity. Without waiting any longer, the door opened, and he was invited inside. Luke hesitated for a moment, but then he stepped inside. Inside the spaceship, it was covered in strange and bright colors. The control panel was full of buttons and knobs. The most interesting thing on board was near the window. When he looked out, he saw an immense view of space, full of stars and planets. A tiny creature appeared standing in front of the control panel. The creature smiled and greeted Luke. Luke, unafraid, smiled and greeted the creature. There, a planetary adventure in space had begun. Luke was excited when he met the tiny creature in the spaceship. The creature introduced himself as Zog and asked Luke to go on an adventure. Luke accepted this offer with excitement. Zog showed Luke the control panel of the spaceship. He taught him how to move the ship by pressing buttons and knobs. Luke steered the ship towards the dazzling stars. At that moment, the space journey began. Our first stop was Callistoria, a colorful planet. Callistoria had pink skies and purple seas. Instead of humans, it was inhabited by furry creatures that could walk. Luke admired the beauty of Callistoria and made friends with the locals. Our next stop was a glowing planet called Lumina. Lumina was full of bright lights everywhere, and even night was like day. On this bright planet, Luke met creatures that danced with colorful lights. As his space adventure continued, Luke discovered how diverse different planets are. Each planet was full of different colors, creatures, and natural wonders. Luke began to celebrate the magic and diversity of space. But as she explored each new planet, Luke began to realize how special and unique the world was. His love for home, family, and friends grew even more. His adventures in space made him appreciate the world even more. Zog told Luke that the journey in space was over and they had to go back. Even though Luke had to say goodbye just this once, he knew that his adventures in space had given him a lifelong treasure. Luke climbed out of his tiny spaceship and returned to Earth. But now, when he looked up at the sky, he would remember not only the stars, but also his adventures in space. He had a better appreciation of the Earth and discovered the magic of space. Luke and Zog were continuing their space adventures. This time, they visited a planet called Chroma. Chroma was a planet of colors. Everything was alive and colorful here. As Luke wandered among plants and creatures of all kinds of colors on Chroma, he realized something. Each color carried a different emotion and meaning. Red symbolized love. Blue represented peace and tranquility. Green represented hope. Luke learned that Chroma's colors are not only beautiful, but also help people, and living things express their feelings. To paint something red was to show love, while blue was the color of peace and tranquility. In Chroma, Zog gifted Luke with a color stone. The color of this stone would help Luke express his inner feelings. Luke accepted this gift with pride and looked at it with gratitude. Our next stop was a planet called Harmonia. This was the planet of music. Luke and Zog met creatures playing different instruments. The sounds of music filled Luke's soul with peace. Luke observed that the music on harmonia brought people together and spread love. Everyone played different instruments, and together they made wonderful music in harmony. As the space adventure continued, Luke realized that the different planets not only celebrated their differences, but also helped her better understand the beauty on Earth. Each planet told a different story, and Luke came to appreciate these stories even more. Luke and Zog continued their space adventures, but now they were ready to return home. This time, the spaceship started on its way to their home planet, Earth. Luke brought with her the color stone she had received from Chroma. It had helped her express her inner feelings and was now very precious to her. She also brought a musical instrument she had taken from Harmonia. When they returned to Earth, Luke's life had changed. She now saw the world in a different way. He better understood how colors and music help people express their feelings. Luke put the color stone from Chroma on a flower and presented it to his mother. "This flower is for you, Mommy, because what I feel for you is red, the most beautiful color of love," he said. His mother touched Luke's emotional gift. One day, Luke decided to play his music. He picked up an instrument from Harmonia and started playing a beautiful melody. The melody warmed people's hearts and made those around him smile. Luke now had a story full of space adventures, but most importantly, when he returned to Earth, he had a better appreciation of the world. It was a special planet, full of colors and music, but also of the most precious treasures: love, friendship, and family. Luke had returned home at the end of his space adventure, but everything was different now. The world seemed more beautiful and special to her than she had ever seen it before. Luke carried the color stone she had received from Chroma with her every day. It helped her to express her inner feelings. He also never stopped playing the instrument he got from Harmonia. His music helped people to come together and be happy. Luke spent more time with his family and friends and realized how special they were. Every day, he was filled with awe at the diversity and beauty of the world. One day, Luke went out with his mother. In the park, he looked around and noticed the beauty of nature around him. The songs of the birds, the colors of the flowers, and the gentle breeze of the wind reminded him what a treasure the world is. His adventures in space gave Luke a better appreciation of the world. He understood that the world is the home of colors, music, and most importantly, love. Luke returned home at the end of his space adventure, but something had changed. He now knew how special the world was, and he understood the value of home. Every day was filled with gratitude for the beauty of the world and the value of people. And so, Luke's adventure on a planet in space was over, but the colors and music in his heart would never fade.